today's podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Robillard. We're in a new studio. We got a lot better setup than the usual Zoom and Skype calls. We have a full panel here today. First off, Dylan Forsyth, first ever appearance. He started with us, but hasn't been on a show yet. To my left as well, Nolan Chard, usual Leaf guy. And then we got a new special guest, Cale Hayes over there.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Before we start, all links will be in our description, all of our social medias. You can find us on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Shout out to everyone behind the scenes today. We got a full crew with us. Very excited about it. Got people on cameras, got people in the back. Before we kick things off, I have to ask Dylan Forsyth here. How do you feel about the cutter Gauthier returning to Philly? I, for one, think he's terrible physical play. Just didn't get in the way. People was scared of everything. The booze, everything. What is your thoughts?
It's probably not easy going into an atmosphere like that. He played a great game after that, though, against Carolina. Dragged the Ducks past, maybe a day too late. He'd be point per game if he played Philadelphia every other game. That's true. And the one thing I have to say is Philly really only showed up for a 20-year-old. Only showed up for a 20-year-old. That's just pathetic. Maybe show up in the playoffs next time.
That's
not against Gauthier.
That's the playoff atmosphere the boys been missing. He's very little physical play. He ran away from basically everyone, and he floats. He doesn't battle. Boys over there, any opinions on Cutter Gauthier?
I probably do have to say that was a pretty fun game to watch. Of course, Philly showed out. That's going to be their most important game of the year, anyways. So I'm glad they had fun that game. But Cutter got smoked. They lost 6-0 to the Flyers. It's going to be Philly's biggest game all year. So happy
we'll
for them,
see.
I guess.
Hazy?
Yeah, I can't say I watched many Flyers games. I'm not gonna lie to you, but he just had the wrong date circled on his calendar twice. Yeah, he played great the game after. Just couldn't figure it out when he had to, I guess.
I think the real hero of that game is Jamie Drysdale.
Yep.
Snaps his
Jamie's
20-plus
better,
goal streak against the Ducks. That
was a filthy goal.
Storyline.
Ever since returning, Drysdale's just been on a clinic. He's been one of our best defensemen.
Then he'll get hurt again.
Yeah, just waiting for that injury.
The cycle.
Yeah, it's a never-ending cycle.
Jamie cycle.
All right, some Penguins news as of Wednesday. Tristian Jarry is back on waivers. Just outright terrible performance from him. I have stats here from Jay Fresh, his 22 games this season. He allowed a goal on the first shot. He faced 6 times. On the second shot, 4 times. On the third shot, twice. On the fourth shot, 4 times. On the fifth shot, 3 times. He made it to 6 shots without allowing a goal. 6 times, 22 games. One person commented the stats don't add up. Looks like 19 games where he didn't make it 6 shots. More than multiple times on occasion, he let 2 goals in before the 6th shot. So that's just outright terrible. He has a 5-year deal that runs till 2027-28 that pays $26.875 million. That's got to be one of the worst contracts unless you're Cal Peterson. Boys, your thoughts?
It's a hell of a contract for an AHL goalie. That glove side is terrible. I haven't watched many Penguins games this year, but by looking at the stats, what is this, the second time being put on waivers this year? He got put on at the start of the year. And just the stats you say, it pretty much sums it up. That guy is not NHL caliber this year.
There is a good goalie that was born in Pennsylvania that could very well get traded, and his name is John Gibson.
God, the ask for the Ducks ask for that man is ridiculous.
Lucius Dostal's from Gibson 2.0. It's sad to see. Sad to see in front of our eyes.
And the Flyers are connected to that. I don't want any part of that. God, that contract is just terrible, especially for what the Flyers need right now.
It's a goalie for sure.
But I think we're okay. I would rather Kolosov, Fedotov, and Ersson over one Gibson for a first-round pick and 20 assets.
6'5".
That's not ridiculous.
For the Flyers, it kind of is when you already have 3 goalies and you're in a rebuild.
Yeah. How is Fedotov?
ass. Not great, if I'm being honest. He's kind of our second string right now. Erson's barely a starting goaltender right now.
Doesn't he have an 880?
Yeah, no goalie in the Flyers system currently has above a 900 save percentage.
See, that could be a problem.
All AHL goalies, all NHL goalies, none have better than a 900.
Poor Carson Bjarnason.
Carson Bjarnason is my GOAT. He will save this franchise if everything goes well.
Yeah.
If everything goes well.
It's a rough
Big
situation.
key
Canada
there.
goat.
Just wait till he goes to Anaheim.
Okay, moving on. Some Toronto Maple Leaf stuff. John Tavares just absolutely decapitated his leg in morning skate today. But as I mentioned the Leafs, I wanted to bring to attention this note from Big Head Leafs that was tweeted. I'm not exactly sure. I think it was after the game, previous. It says, I know a lot of people think that Berube hockey is going to work, but it's not. The biggest issue in the playoffs for us is scoring, and if this team can't score in the regular season anymore, what makes people think they'll be able to make the playoffs? And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that because your goaltending is mainly things that are saving it right now with Stolars. I believe he's still on IR. But I just wanted your thoughts because you're a big advocate for Berube, and people seem to think that system's not going to work very well if you can't score.
Yeah, definitely scoring's our main problem. We need a centerman really badly. I mean, Tavares just went down today at we had Matthews back for 5 or 6 games, and now Tavares is out. It looks like a groin injury.
You can take Scott Lawton basically
Yeah.
for free.
I would like Scott Lawton, but they want a first and a player prospect.
He
So
just tucked 4.
he did tuck 4. But yeah, with the Leafs, goal scoring is evidently the problem. We saw in the playoffs last year, the power play, they scored 1 or 2 power play goals in the playoffs last year. They operated under 5% in the playoffs last year. Joseph Woll almost took us past the Bruins. Obviously, Samsonov was horrible. But yeah, Joe Woll played unbelievable. Somehow, some way, we somehow get goaltending in playoffs and a little bit of defense, and then our scoring goes away. Last year, we were second in goals for, and now this year, we're bottom half. With all that talent that we have, that's unacceptable. And our power play is our problem, and we can't score anything. We need a centerman, probably, and we need Morgan Riley to figure it out.
Yeah. Also going back, I wanted to bring up the quotes from, I believe it was last week. Mitch Marner kind of was like, we played okay, everything's okay. But then Berube and who was the other one that was quoted?
It was Chris Tanev.
Chris Tanev. Both of them were like, this sucks, we played outright terribly.
Yeah.
And then Marner kind of just shook it off. He was like, yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, it's good old Mitch for you, hey? When something goes bad, you can tell he's upset, and then he just says something that's not true at all. Obviously, we don't want to hear that after losing 3-0 to the Canucks on a Saturday night, where I'm online. I'm sure you guys saw about an hour before game time, there's a ticket in the front row that was $36,000. Imagine paying that stupid amount of money to sit front row and watch your team have 18 shots on net and score no goals after a team that got stuck on a plane in Carolina, couldn't travel because they had an ice storm. And then they get in to Toronto at 1 o'clock, the game's at 7, and they have no morning skate, no nothing. Second day of a back-to-back, and then you just get walked.
That's
The worst game of the year. And then just last night, they played the Stars, and they played horrible again.
At least Austin Matthews scored.
And at least Austin Matthews scored, yeah.
Moving on, getting to kind of the thick of things here. Halfway through the season, pretty much every team is in it. I mean, except for maybe a few handful there. Not to name names over there.
I understand.
There's kind of 4 teams truly outside of it, but all teams are kind of on the outside looking in here. What do we expect looking down here the last 40-ish games? I mean, obviously, Columbus is in a playoff spot right now. Senators are on the outside. Montreal's on the outside. There's teams like St. Louis, Utah, Anaheim's kind of in the mix there. Even Philly's not completely out of it. Toronto's obviously sitting pretty, but it's hard to say, except for maybe even the Sabres are kind of in it a little bit. As much as it's hard to say.
No.
In their division. But the bottom 3 there, Nashville, San Jose, and Chicago, those are kind of the 3. I believe the Predators still think they can figure this out, but that would need a miracle and probably 15 other things to go right for them. But what are your
2019
guys'
Blues.
thoughts kind of on the playoff picture and where things are right now? I'll go to you, Forsyth.
That's a lot more interesting, I think. I mean, I'm going to talk about the Ducks here, but I mean, they have not lost a game in regulation when they score more than 3 goals, which is like a crazy stat. But then they just can't score goals because their coach is something. I'm not going to say what Greg Cronin is, but it's just a lot more intriguing. It's like every game, obviously there is games where they're blowouts, but you know, like when teams would beat, like the Ducks beat Carolina, like that's
Or like the 6-0 blowout to the Flyers.
yeah. You know, we did it in honor of Tutter. Zero games played for Tutter, 0 goals.
Actually, I'll go to Cale first.
I've been a closet Columbus fan, and they're finally looking good. The young core's playing unreal. In fantasy, I think Kirill Marchenko is the fifth
Yeah, he's
Fifth
on my
ranked at his
fantasy team
position.
right now. Yeah.
He's playing phenomenal. Their D-core is still young. They still have elite prospects, and they're already making their wild card case. Probably first-round exits, but even after what they did to Tampa
Yeah, you
in
never
COVID
know.
year,
Never
Yeah.
know.
that was one of the best series I've watched. It was electric. That Columbus team, just
That crowd.
Yeah.
the crowd's awesome. I really want Columbus to make a run.
I just want to butt in here. The only issue is their goaltending cannot stop a beach ball. Like
That's
they
their
have so many
goaltending
goals.
That
problem.
is their big
Elvis.
problem.
Maybe they need John
Elvis.
Gibson.
They
Maybe.
could use a guy like John.
And they got yeah.
I will credit Chard here. At the start of the year when we did our playoff predictions and stuff, you said Utah you had Utah in the playoffs. And I mean, they're obviously fighting for a spot. I would love to see Utah in the playoffs. That's kind of a shot to Arizona, though. You haven't had playoff hockey there in a while, and you just make it first year in Utah. But I mean, what's your kind of outlook on things right now?
I think in the West it's pretty close to settled, except for Calgary being in. I do think Vancouver's gonna get it together and jump into that second wild card spot. Then I think it's gonna be pretty much set from there. But in the East, yeah, like that Columbus story, like Zach Werenski, like if that guy's a point per game
He's
in
a Norris
Columbus,
candidate.
Hart, like if that team makes the playoffs and he's over a point per game, he's and their leading scorer.
Yep.
Like I can see him being like a Hart candidate. Would that be like the 3rd defenseman ever? Because there's been
a
3 or
decent-
4.
There's been a decent. I think Eddie Shore alone has won 4.
Yeah. Yeah, Bobby Orr won 2 or 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember the last guy who won it, but it wasn't any time like recently.
Yeah.
But yeah, the East playoff race is exciting. I mean, there's going to be like a lot of teams in it. I'd love to see Columbus get in, and I'd love to see Boston jump out for obvious reasons. My ideal first round, little Toronto, Ottawa, try to rebirth that, 2000s where the Leafs and Senators were trying to kill each other every time.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of teams in it, and like Detroit was on that 7-game heater that not really many people heard of. But then who else but the Sharks to end that last night after Ville Husso puts up a 700. But yeah, I think the East is a lot of teams can jump in and fall out, but the West I think is pretty much set. Just only Vancouver's going to jump Calgary.
Yeah. I like how it the last couple of years it's been like down to the last game. Flyers weren't in a playoff. Well,
They
fighting
they
for
were.
a playoff spot. Well, they were, and then lost 10 straight. But it came down to that final game. I like that kind of atmosphere where you have to win every game near the end.
Yeah.
I want to mention Washington. Just unbelievable season from them.
Oh.
They're back to their 2018 ways. I was one person that thought they would be good, but I didn't think they'd be this good. Chard had them in the playoffs. I had the Flyers making it, and Washington not. But where it's looking right now, it's anyone's ball game except for that bottom 3. Cale, do you think Nashville has a chance here, the way they think they do?
No. That team they start getting hopeful. They start scoring goals. Like yesterday, they just walloped Vegas, and then they'll get back on track, and then they'll lose probably 4 straight coming up here.
Yeah.
So I've gained my faith, and then I've lost it pretty quick too. So we'll have to see, because nothing's going right over in Nashville. Nothing.
And like sticking to Nashville, like they had a terrible start to the year, and you obviously had high hopes going into the year with
Yeah.
all those signings.
Everyone
And
did, I think.
they're making me look really dumb right now. I had them winning the Central, just due to a Norris candidate, defenseman, Vezina Trophy, goaltender, and their forwards obviously looks a lot more stacked
I mean,
with signing Stammer and.
yeah.
Marchessault, but little did we know, Kiefer Sherwood is the missing piece.
I mean, I had their coach winning the Jack Adams Award, for fuck's sakes. Like, what an absolute just turnaround disaster for Nashville this year. Okay, it's time to pay the bills here. Join the biggest ticket market in the world, rated 5 stars by over 6,000 people, and get the best seats available. Whether you are looking for last-minute tickets or trying to lock down a future event. Download the app and sign up with SeatGeek for the best deals and use code DumpandChasePod for $20 off your order. That's DumpandChasePod for $20 off.
We want to eat, please.
We need food. We need to pay the bills. We have a studio
Student
now.
loans are pretty expensive.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Back to Predators talk here. I mean, we kind of mentioned it, what's wrong with them and what's kind of going on. They got big and hefty contracts to a lot of guys, like Stammer, Jonathan Marchessault, Brady Shea. They locked up UC Saros for 8 years, $61.92 million. Where do they go from here? Do you think this is just a down year for them? Like, can they move on to the next year? What's the problem here?
I think this is just a down year for them. Like, if you look at over like the last month and a half, that top line of Stamkos, Marchessault, and Forsberg, they've been almost point per game. Marchessault and Forsberg are leading the team in points. They're doing what they need to do. Obviously not on that 40-goal pace like they both were last year. Same with Stamkos. He's getting older. He was strictly a power play guy, and even the power play has been weak this year, bottom of the league. But I think the main problem is the depth did not come to play this year. We lost guys like Kiefer Sherwood. We lost guys like Yakov Trenin, who were obviously identity. I watched pretty much every game last year, and they brought the team into it every time. Brought the team alive. The first line could be terrible. That third line would just go out there and do what they needed to do. But instead, we went top heavy. We got the stars out of the free agency, and it looks like it cost us. So now I guess we can bring the young guys into the game, get them developed under some 40-goal scorers, try and get them involved. Like Igor Shvechkov. We don't hit on many draft picks, but this guy looks pretty solid. He's big, physical, can score a goal, make a play. So that's just kind of what happened this year.
Yeah.
Next year's, hopefully they can kind of click. If not, just blow it up.
Yeah.
Also, to add to that, Nashville, I think it's kind of, for those guys like Marchessault and Stamkos, they didn't want to leave where they were. Stamkos wanted to stay in Tampa for the rest of his career. Marchessault did not want to leave Vegas at all. So they're probably obviously going through something like mentally, like they don't want to be there. Maybe they're just trying to engage themselves, trying to be there. But obviously they gave out some no movement clauses. They never did that before. And then obviously we heard Ryan O'Reilly this week. He's going to be treated like he has a no movement clause.
Yeah.
So he has to agree to where he's going. But yeah, those would be contracts that would not be easy to move if the plan is to blow it up.
Yeah. Back to Ryan O'Reilly there. Do you think it's okay that he's being treated that way, or would you rather something happen or be moved that way?
No, I like Ryan O'Reilly. He's another big identity piece on this team. He just does all the little things. He's the only really defensive forward we have, so he's huge on that penalty kill, which has actually been top of the league, so that's a one good note. So, yeah, he wins faceoffs. He's been playing okay this year. He's just kind of old. He's not going to be your 90-point player, but he's a great guy you need on a cup-run team. Obviously, he's been there, done that, so. And he's actually been in this exact situation before with the Blues. So
you think he's not the problem and shouldn't be the guy being traded, but he's one of the only ones because he doesn't have those clauses in his contract?
Yeah, I think he can stay. I really like Ryan O'Reilly. But
Fair enough.
if he's traded, hopefully get good capital. But yeah, our center position's also really weak. So
again, you can have Lawton if you want.
Yeah. Good.
And O'Reilly was like, is being treated like this because he got signed by David Poile.
Yeah.
And he didn't do clauses at all.
Mm-hmm.
So now with Trotz as the GM, he's obviously gave out those clauses to the other big guys, older guys, that he has a lot of respect for. So that's kind of why I guess Trotz is going to be treating him that way.
Yeah, I love Trotz. I love how he just like threw up the rebuild idea. And he's like, I'm going to fucking destroy this whole fucking city.
He is button mashing hard though recently.
Yeah.
I did not like that Carrier trade.
No.
I just want to mention that thing stat. I think I saw like somewhere online that UC Saros has like more shutouts than he did last year on a team that sucks. Like,
He's the only fix.
he'll have a good game here, then I'll just get blown to shreds.
Yeah.
It's a confusing season.
Do we think Askarov was the whole puzzle piece here that's missing now?
I didn't really like that trade, but overall, we got a first out of it. We got another high-end pick who looked great in the World Juniors. He was fantastic from what I saw. And then we could have done better with Askarov. I think we could have had him as our backup instead of Kevin Lankinen, or even this year Justice Anunen. But he had to go, I think, because he wasn't very happy there, I don't think.
Well, after you
'Cause-
signed Saros, it was kind of like closed door for the starting role.
Yeah, and he wanted to be the backup this year, or split games with Saros, and
Yeah,
they
and
told
they
him
were like, no.
Scott Wedgwood's going to be our guy, like our backup.
Yeah,
and then he's obviously been traded to Colorado
Yeah.
for Justice Anunen.
And I mean, I think Asgarov's a stud. Like, I would have loved
he's
him.
gonna
in
be
the
good.
field. He's such a beast.
Can't wait for that Sharks beating the Preds in the conference final in a few
Yeah,
years.
Asgarov shuts him out.
Askarov masterclass.
Yeah, with 40-year-old Stamkos in the conference.
Speaking about first-round picks and drafting, I mean, they have a lot of capital.
They have,
which
yeah.
is ridiculous to me. But they are terrible at drafting. More recently, it's been better. But you guys just don't hold on to your prospects that you draft. I mean, looking back, I can't even say half these names, but like Matthew Wood, 23, 22 was Kimmel. He has 0 points in the NHL, 0 games. Fedor, how do you say that one?
Fedor Svechkov.
Yeah, is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah, he's looking good. He's looking promising.
Yeah, and he has 13 games. And then Askarov traded. Philip Tomasino traded. Take that one away, Cale.
Joachim Kondolik.
Who is that?
I haven't even seen him play, but he's
0 games.
0 games, yeah, he's not.
Eli Tolevain.
Eli Tolvanen.
I'm like Don Cherry with pronouncing names. Waivers. Dante Fabro, waivers. Kevin Fiala, traded. Seth Jones, traded. Austin Watson, traded.
No one.
Big Austin Watson.
In the past,
He was a first-round pick. That is crazy.
yeah, those are all first-round picks in the last decade or so plus.
Yeah.
And that's not great. You want to see more development and better use of your assets there.
At least they traded for Philip Forsberg.
Yeah.
At least they traded for Philip Forsberg.
So off of that, how do you feel moving forward in the next couple drafts? Do you think they'll get some hits here, or what's going on?
I just think Poyle didn't know what a prospect looked like, to be honest. But Trotz, I'm like hoping he can pick some better players. But like talking about a guy like Philip Tomasino, he had an ungodly amount of chances to prove himself. He was put on top lines, fourth lines, played AHL. He was almost played a whole season in the NHL, just could not get going. So I don't mind trading him for anything. So I could not stand him. He was weak. He just couldn't make a play. It was painful to watch him play. And Igor Surin, I'm high on him. Just a big shutdown guy. He was like kind of like a Matthias Ekholm kind of build. So hopefully he can turn into something. And if there's one thing Nashville can do, it can make a defenseman.
Yeah.
We've had probably a top 3 decor for the last decade almost. So high on him. Obviously Wood, he's just a big power forward sniper kind of build. He was kind of snubbed from Team Canada, I thought, but just look how that went.
A lot of people can say the same about snubs from Team Canada.
Talking about Team Canada and Nashville's prospects, and outside of first-round picks, Tanner Molendyke is one guy that I really enjoy watching.
Yeah.
It's a great state.
He's a great.
He was the best defenseman on that team.
Yeah, by far.
And Gibson was good too. He's Nashville too, right?
Yeah.
I think Nashville's decor basically carried the World Juniors there, and they're both very promising picks. So if they can figure out first-round picks, they're fine. But outside of the first round, I think they've been really good, and they have some guys to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we have more time than I thought we would. So
So I was to talk about the Scott Wedgwood. It is crazy how the Colorado Avalanche have completely changed their season with 2 goalie trades.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Blackwood should be a Vezina candidate. He only in the last few games he's only given up two. I think he's only given up 2 goals in like every game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is absurd.
They like their wood.
And they got
Yeah.
Miles
A lot of
Wood,
woods.
Scott Wedgwood, and Blackwood.
I just want to see, like, did anyone see Scott Wedgwood go down in that? I think
Zach Benson.
Against Zach Benson.
Yeah, you got
what,
bumped.
what was the call there? Was that the right play? Do you think? Like,
That was last week.
That was his own defenseman though that shoved Benson.
Yeah,
like,
but I
should
mean,
they call it down when the goalie's
the
like,
goalie's
Colorado never
down
has-
in the net. But
They-
like that's different.
Like, you
It's
call it
such a judgment call because sometimes when the team that is the one player that's hurt and you're going on an offensive rush, if the
blow it.
player's down and aching, sometimes they blow it down.
when the
They never blow it when
They
the other
have.
team has the puck.
But they have.
Unless it's like a player gets a puck up high. Like that's the only time
But,
I've
I
really
mean,
only ever
but
seen.
Elliot Freeman brought up the time, I forget who the player was, but some guy took a puck to the face and he was gushing blood and they let the play go and I think they scored on the chance.
Oh God.
So it's such like a judgment call and a mess up.
horrible.
Like, so I mean, I would argue that you blow that play dead.
well, I mean, I saw right in here. Like, a goalie loses helmet or even equipment, you call that play dead.
That also pissed me off
Like,
because
you-
in the rules, you're not allowed to like take your helmet off if it's loose. You're
They
allowed
do
to
that a
shake
lot
it
now.
off,
They do that a lot now.
but they always take it off and it's not a call. So, I mean, I don't know.
Just-
I don't think that should be a goal.
I just don't really get the difference. Like, goalie's down. That's almost the same as his helmet coming off, I think.
Yeah, but I'm
Like, he's unable to make the save either way.
and he's I guess he can get hurt too.
yeah in the
Someone
state
lets
he
it
was
go and
in.
he's not facing the net.
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
his. Yeah, I don't know.
He could've
It's a
gotten more
rough.
injured.
It's
It's a
just a
gray-
rough play. It
It's
just
a gray
makes
area.
It,
It's a very gray area.
and it's just
Every
I
rule
don't
in
know.
the
It's his own
rule book
defenseman
is-
that did it, and thank God. Like he's back now. He's backing up Blackwood. He did it yesterday against the Rangers. So I'm at least he's all right. But I mean Benson, they went after Benson as if it was his fault. He did score.
Yeah.
Benson got checked under the goalie. His leg went the wrong way, and then Benson did a wraparound goal right after that, while the goalie was hurt.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just. I don't know. It's like you said, it's a very gray area.
I want to talk about all the drama in the locker rooms recently with the Canucks and reportedly the Boston Bruins now, but Brad Marchand came out and said that's a bunch of bullshit. First, let's talk about the Canucks here. JT Miller and Elias Pettersson and even Quinn Hughes and the coach being fed up with it all. What's the fix here? Do we think any of them get moved? Do we think there's something more to this? Because JT Miller's more like the hard-nosed hockey player, kind of like the John Tortorellas of the world. And then Elias Pettersson seems like he kind of just wants to do his own thing and is more like less pushing on players. Yeah, do we think any of them get moved? I'll go to you, Hayes, first.
I think that was just a media thing, to be honest. Like, JT Miller's never really been that great in the locker rooms. He's always been kind of a problem. But as a player, and Pettersson's been struggling for the last while now, and as the main guy on that offense, you gotta kind of get your guys going, because right now they're not in the playoff spot. And last year in the playoffs, when I watched Elias Pettersson play Nashville, he was just abysmal. So you got to get that guy going. If he can't figure it out, I think JT Miller's in the right. I think he could stay, but Elias Pettersson might need to go.
Yeah, I think it's easier to move one or the other, but obviously a lot more people want Pettersson as his age, and JT Miller's the older guy. And one of them has a no-move clause, but one doesn't. I forget who it is.
I think it's Patterson.
I would imagine Pettersson.
His is what, first or second year on that big 11+ mil
Yeah.
deal, and I don't know. I think JT Miller's the best forward on that team. That guy drags his team into the fight every single day.
Not Kiefer Sherwood.
I mean, Kiefer Sherwood recently.
He
Kiefer
gets fired
Sherwood this year, yeah, definitely that guy was what he was fourth line on Nashville. That's where he belonged. He's a great fourth liner last year. He almost had 30 points in 70 games, and then this year he got put on that top line with Pettersson for 4 or 5 games, and he had a hat trick. He had 7 points in 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. That guy's insane this year. But back to the Pettersson and Miller, if they're trying to win like this year, they can't move them. They just kind of got to smack them both on the back of the head and tell them to figure it out. You guys get paid. Miller gets paid $8 million for the next 3 or 4 years, and Pettersson's getting 11+ for the next 7 or 8 years. They kind of just got to grow up at some point. They obviously, I'd love to see him in that Four Nations though, because Pettersson's on Sweden and Miller's on USA. Miller just blow up Pettersson center ice. That would cause some problems.
I forget what I was gonna point to, but Forsyth, you got anything?
I think it's kind of like the media too. Like you don't
It's
really,
more of the
you
media.
never really know what's going on. Like they don't really show
Yeah.
you what's in the.
That's fair enough. Quinn Hughes. Apparently, it's been reported that he is also kind of kicking tires at this stuff, and he's a little bit tired of it. And if your captain's having a fuss about it and he's over it, as well as your coach, do you think that creates more of a divide that you can't really fix to a certain point?
I don't know. Like, I think Quinn Hughes is not a great captain. I think it should be JT Miller. I'm not going to lie.
Damn.
Quinn Hughes is great and all, but he cannot. I don't think he can lead that team. I think he's too quiet. He's just leads by example, I guess. But if you want like my ideal captain is a JT Miller, Adam Lowry type of guy. Go out there, lay the bod. He's not your top guy, but he can make a statement. He can do what he needs to do. He can pull the team together. He can play with anybody. But yeah, I don't know. Quinn Hughes as the captain, you got to get those guys under control. So
Fair enough.
if he can't do that and he only talks to the media about it, from what we've seen,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Anything else from you two?
I mean, Hughes, best player on that team, definitely. He's got, like Cale said. But I think he should be the captain. Miller's known as a hothead everywhere he's went, like from Rangers to Lightning to now the Canucks. He's always been a hothead, and we've seen it. Like that iconic clip of there's a delayed penalty and his goalie's not moving. He just starts slamming his stick on the back of the net, yelling at the goalie. But, yeah, I don't know. Hughes has kind of got to get his boys together. Like, you can't have, I would say their two best forwards, Pettersson and Miller.
Yeah.
They gotta work it out.
Yeah.
Like they are the face and the identity of that team. Like Pettersson had a great weekend. Like watching that Leafs and Canucks game, best game Pettersson's played all year. He had no points, but he shut down the Leafs.
Yeah.
He played great. He had 5 block shots that game. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw, but the Canucks were all chanting Selke as he blocked a shot, and they all started chanting Selke and everything.
And those trades don't typically happen either.
It
Those are
doesn't need
big
to happen.
names to go on the trade market.
It's looking too much like the NBA, bro. They gotta stay back. They gotta stay there. We don't need no KD anymore. KD to Golden State.
Forsyth, anything to add?
So pretty much everything's been said.
All right.
So.
And then we go to more drama. The Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak, and how the Boston Bruins room is a pile of shit as well. This quote is from Keefe. He was the guy that broke the firing of Boston's coach. Why can't I think of his name? Montgomery. And he was ahead of it by everyone, and then he kind of made a name for himself. So then people kicked tires on this one. The locker room is a disaster, and David Pastrnak is the center of it. David Pastrnak has told the team he doesn't want to be on a line with Brad Marchand, and it may stem from Brad Marchand calling out Pastrnak from some of his play. And then, not a day later, Brad Marchand took to the media and just wiped the floor with the guy.
Blew up.
Told him that he should lose his job.
He's so good at it too, man.
And it's just complete backfire for Keefe there. And obviously, you kind of just have to take the player's word for it. It's kind of hard to say who's in the right here. But to make matters worse, Keefe quoted the Brad Marchand interview and said, "Now I got Marchand calling for my job. No one acts this way if the story is really false. Thanks for the clarification." What are your boys' thoughts on that? I'll go to you first, Forsyth.
Brad Marchand might become the greatest NHL player to rip into reporters. Obviously, the stuff with Biz.
That's just cinema right there.
I think just the same thing. I think with Pettersson, you won't really know what's ever going on. You can't really say what's in the room. It's all hearsay, really.
Yeah, and I mean the Bruins admin as well, posting photos of the two of them together during warm-ups and just picking at it. But yeah, like I said, Marchand, there's zero truth to it, to him and being a problem in the room. He's one of the most loved guys in the room, and the reason they don't play on a line together is for more depth. And you create depth that way. You can put 2 of your best players on 2 separate lines. That's a recipe for success.
I just want to kind of go back to the point. I think last playoffs when they were playing the Leafs, wasn't he Pastrnak called out by Montgomery?
And he scored
he
before
did
Game 7.
Yeah,
and then he scored Game 7.
So
Both
maybe
of them
OT
were, though.
winner. Yeah, you wanna know,
Marchand
I'll
and
tell
Pastrnak have been called out by them. So, I mean, it's nothing new. Anything from your side of the table?
I don't know. That firing Montgomery was a terrible idea. I don't know what they were doing there. So that, I think, was just a downfall of this team. Rough starts happen, but firing your coach right after, that's one of the dumbest things I've seen.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you also have your star goalie not doing any training camp, going in raw.
Yep.
That's
Just
gotta-
going after signing a big contract that's not looking pretty right now either.
Made a big fuss, got his contract, and stunk it up.
But I mean, that's kind of what the Bruins and those top teams do. They have no patience for being a bad team. If something's not going wrong, their Ken and their coach are doing something big. Chard, your thoughts as a Leafs
Here
fan?
for it. Here for it. I hate the Bruins. They've owned the Leafs for a long time now. They've been making the playoffs and dominating for 10, 15 years.
Not even. They had I think there was a stretch 2015, 2016 where they didn't even make the playoffs, which is absurd.
Yeah, but
They're
still,
still,
nobody
is it-
remembers that.
2019 they go to the finals. 2023 they have the best regular season ever. They're
And
a powerhouse.
Are dog shit in the
Bombed by-
playoffs.
Bombed by the Panthers. Leafs got pumped by him too. But I'm here for it. I love that guy. I think he said Keefe.
Yeah.
Rick Keefe.
He tweeted again, or a different tweet. I was listening to Spit and Chicklets, and they talked about the whole thing. And he tweeted about all the things he's been right about. And he's like, "Why, if this is actually happening in the locker room, why would you tell the truth about that out? You have
Yeah.
more to lose, so you're not gonna lie to you're gonna lie to the media, so then that whole locker room doesn't blow up."
Yeah. I mean, looking at his profile here, he's got 39.9K followers, and he's a bigger name in the media. I'm not sure what else he's been right about. I don't really pay attention to Bruins media, but I've just heard about him being right about Montgomery and being ahead of some stuff. But yeah, their podcast, Jones and Keefe, it's also a bigger radio show in Boston. So I mean, it is what it is. You think you'd kind of pick sides, but obviously people are going to choose Marchand over it after such a blow up of a conversation and what the media and what the Bruins did to respond to it. But we never know what happens behind closed doors, really.
And on that podcast, also said on, I think it was the Steve Dangle podcast I was listening to this morning. On that podcast, they said, "Why would I lie about something about the Bruins when we also cover the Patriots and the Red Sox? Why would I
Yeah.
pick on the smallest franchise?
It-
If I want to make a big story, I'm going to go talk about them."
Yeah.
Throwing shade out to them. I love it. I hope it just ruins that entire franchise.
Yeah.
Wish nothing but the worst.
I hate to break it to you, but they've won their last two, I think. Even though they've been outshot heavily, and Jeremy Simon's kind of playing up too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I know. But
Time will
they're
tell.
still they're 20 and 18, and then however many OT losses.
Yeah. Time will tell.
I'd love to see them get the boot out of the playoffs.
I mean, anything else to touch on, boys? I think we're pretty much wrapped up here.
Pretty good.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining. This was our first episode in the new studio. Hopefully this will be a regular thing. I'm not sure when we'll schedule for uploads regularly now because we're doing these in the middle of the week. I'm kind of aiming for the Friday, kind of start your weekend off that way. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thanks, boys, for joining. Welcome, Dylan Forsyth, for the first time. Hazy over there, we'll get him on sometime, whenever he wants to feel like it. But thank you very much for joining us today. And that's it for us. All the socials, everything, find all of our stuff in the description. That's all for us. Thanks for joining. Always Dump and Chase.
thank you to the people in the studio.
Thanks for the
Thank
crew.
you.
Thank you, crew, very much.
Thanks, everybody.